Hello and welcome to today's episode of Authentic Achievements, where it's my absolute delight to be joined by the fabulous Siew Ting Foo. Siew Ting, welcome.
Hi, Kim. Hi, everyone.
Hi, I'm so looking forward to this conversation, and I know we can easily get stuck in. So before we do, and forgive Pudding, who most of the audience are used to hearing, because he does like to join in on every show, let me share a little bit more about Siew Ting with the audience. So Siew Ting is a transformational growth leader who builds businesses and brands with soul. She spent most of her 25-year career focused on this mission by infusing human-centric growth strategies into brands including Unilever, Mars Inc., Diageo, Fonterra, and most recently HP Inc. As a female leader who has worked in global businesses and marketing roles, Siew Ting shares her experiences in the book from creating value for shareholders, humanizing growth strategies for global brands, or leading groundbreaking initiatives that set industry benchmarks. Siew Ting has received recognition as a transformational business leader across the region who's helped businesses and brands with soul. She was named consecutively 6 times as Asia's most purposeful and influential CMO and named Asia and China's top woman leader. She remains committed to inspiring change, nurturing potential, and fostering a culture of creativity and innovation in her work and her communities. I mean, wow, that's so much. Where do we even start? But could you perhaps bring that to life for us?
Yeah, so I mean, first of all, I'd like to introduce where I'm from. I'm actually calling from Singapore, sunny Singapore. Ethnically, I'm Singaporean, about Chinese. I speak a couple of languages besides English. I speak Mandarin and Japanese and a bit of Thai. Wow. I have been professionally a chief marketing officer for many years, for almost 2 decades, and I have been, having amazing, mentors and sponsors throughout my life. My passion is really in marketing because I just love the perspective of, understanding the human minds and I think creating brands and businesses that impact the society. I'm also a big believer of building leaders for the future, and I call it, in my own words, leadership with soul. And recently, because of this mission of wanting to inspire and help build the next generation of marketing and business leaders, I just published my book, which is called Building Brands with Soul. And basically, the pure objective was to really share, with confidence, but also with a little bit of vulnerability, my own journey of becoming a CMO, so that to help the next generation of marketing leaders. So that's a snapshot of who I am.
Amazing. And I love that purpose around kind of helping the next generation get ready, passing on your lived experience and your earned knowledge to help the next generation to grow from that. I think that's so insightful, and I love the title of the book, Building Brands with Soul, because I think it really is about how do we get back to connecting with people, and I love that you talk about the importance of people and brands as part of organizational transformation. But could you bring that to life a little bit for the audience for me?
Yeah, I think marketing essentially is a craft of both art and science. But at the heart of marketing is really just understanding the human mind so as to change perceptions about the brand and the business and the services that you go into. I just fell in love with this craft 25 years ago. And then as I get into different roles across different organizations, transforming businesses and really driving change, that was when I start coming the notion, developing the notion of this whole concept of purpose. And as we know, purpose is the marry of your passion, your skills, and what you do for vocation. And I found my purpose 15 years ago when I was working with Diageo. And since then, I have been trying to connect my own purpose with the business and the brand purpose, and also the team purpose in the way of how I lead transformation. And I've been honing this skill because I feel that, especially in the world that we live in now, I mean, this whole era of AI and machines and automation, I feel that the whole human connection will actually get more and more important, and the human skills and how to lead from the soul with the heart will become even more critical.
I honestly couldn't agree more. I think, we're moving into an era where our need for connection, our need for humanizing leadership, and being able to really turn the volume upon our emotional intelligence and our emotional effectiveness is going to be critical. And yet that's not necessarily been something that has been highly valued in our past. So how do people and organizations, how do leaders and organizations start to make that move if they've not naturally led from that position of humanizing and connecting? How do they make that transition?
Well, actually, it's a really interesting question, and to be frank, I'm still learning. In essence, I mean, in the book, I talk about this whole concept of leadership with soul. And what do I mean by leadership with soul? Essentially, I had the great fortune to work with amazing leaders throughout my 2 decades of career. And through them, I kind of, pick up a few core traits of such great leaders, or human-centric leaders, or leaders with soul. I don't say you would describe them as in terms of five. I mean, often than not, they are very purpose-led. They know the why of what get them out of it, and that really, anchors them. Second, I also realized that such great leaders are visionary, but yet they are empathetic enough to listen with heart. They're very much rooted with authenticity and humility, and they build leaders for the future. And last but not least, they are not afraid to use innovation or disruption to really drive transformation and change. So that's kind of what I articulate in terms of leaders with soul. And the interesting thing, Kim, when I published this book and I titled it Building Brands with Soul in November, I was actually pleasantly surprised by the reactions I got. Um, People resonate with the concept of soul, and maybe even more because of the world we live out now, in terms of what we're seeing from the macro political, economic, cultural changes and constant, volatility and anxiety that people live in together with technology disruption. In fact, people are actually looking forward for more leaders that really help them connect at a different and a meaningful manner. So the response was really overwhelming. I might have hit onto something interesting.
Yeah, I think it's just what's needed right now, because as we drive into an ever fast-paced, technically advanced, digitally advanced environment and culture, and as you say, then surrounded by what else is going on in the macroeconomy, I think what it's actually driving is a greater desire and a greater need. I think it's even gone beyond desire. I think it's a base need to feel connection, to feel purpose, to feel seen, because I think at our base, all human beings want to feel listened to, understood, and respected, and we're losing some of that in how we're operating right now. So I can absolutely see how it resonates, because it's bringing people back to the why. Why am I doing this? What's the value and the purpose? Because we all are happy to work hard, but we want to know it's for a good reason. That when we go to sleep at night, we can go, yeah, I did good today. I added something. And I think when we miss that, when we forget to, one of the things I see, and I'd love to know if you've seen this too. One of the things that I see in the organisations that I help and leaders that I've worked with is very often what they haven't done is give their people permission to be part of the solution. And so the people are kind of sat there with lots of ideas, with perhaps different knowledge because they view things from a different perspective, but with that real sense of no voice because they're waiting for that opportunity. Does that resonate?
Oh, this absolutely resonates with me. I have actually learned through the hard way. And when I felt that things work the best was when you empower the team. And the leader's job is not to tell them what to do. The leader's job is to create a safe environment, trusted environment where people can be their authentic self. And when people are their authentic, actually they bring their best into it. So the role of the leader is very different. It's really about creating the environment. It's about creating a vision, but not telling people what to do. It's about putting trust and actually letting people feel. I find that flipping that model is actually really powerful. I practiced that over the course of the last 5 to 6 years. It's not an easy change. It's something that I have to keep practicing it, and I make mistakes too. But when it happens, it actually resonates with people, and people can see through the actions of the leader, and they want to follow leaders who actually build leaders for the future.
I love that, and I love that in that you shared vulnerability. Like, we make mistakes. I make mistakes too, and I think when you are willing as a leader to share that openly with your people, you create that safe environment, that psychologically safe environment to say it's okay to fail. It's about how we learn from that mistake and how we move forward, because it's never the mistake that defines us, is it? It's always what we've done, what we do about it. So what do we take away from that? And a lot of this, we look at the kind of in to be in an organization, but actually when we think broader about brand, this is really how we externalize as well, isn't it? What do we stand for? What are we about? What's our purpose? And so what therefore does like building brands with soul look like for you? Because obviously we understand about that, creating the right environment within the organization for people to feel seen, heard and part of. But now you need to almost translate that externally to make it interesting and impactful to your target audience, to the people you're wanting to serve. So how do you go about that part?
Well, I think I was intentional about using the word soul, purely because, in the world of the financial terms, you just put it in perspective that the brand itself is shown up as an intangible asset, right, in the P&L. And the word intangible actually says it for itself, right? It's not something that you could, you can value it. Now you can value a brand, but it's often than not when you see a brand that is a great iconic brand, like for the case of Starbucks, you kind of feel it. You feel it. The colors are consistent, the smell is consistent, the experience is consistent. You feel the spirit. You kind of feel the spirit as a human being in itself. So the word soul, it's so critical. I have been absolutely fortunate to work with some of the most amazing global iconic brands, from HP to Johnny Walker to Dove to many of them. But those that were the brands that were we've sold, through my experience, they had five basic criteria. Great purpose, anchored with on a universal human truth, but yet stay relevant with time. That means they have a great purpose, but they change their purpose to be relevant with times. The intangible side of them is very consistent, from the colors to the smell to the everything. But I think one one thing that is so critical, which I find that some brands miss it, is often than not, the brand emanates from, if it's from a founder, if it's not from a founder, it emanates inside out. So when it starts with internal employee leadership belief, and when you get the internal employee commitment and the belief, then it goes out, right? So that's what I meant by soul. Brands with soul starts with a great purpose, but it starts from a consistent spirit that is expressed internal and inside out. So that's what I believe building brands with soul means. And often than not, the brand could become a very great moat within an organization who wants to go through transformation. The brand can actually bind multiple functions together if a leader knows how to orchestrate that inside out.
I love that. That's so insightful, because I think it is, isn't it? It kind of almost feels for me like the iconic brands, the ones that you align to, hit you in a sensory level as much as they hit you in an intellectual level. There's a feeling about them, isn't there? There's a belief that you're part of something bigger that has that alignment of values. I imagine the things that, so they've got a purpose. They've got they're grounded to a human goal, and they are steeped in a value set that you can align to, because it matches your own value set. And that I believe, but I would love your experience. I imagine works as much for the internal employees of said brand and the external users, for want of a better word, of the brand. There's got to be that consistency, both inward and outward. Would that be fair?
Yes, I think it's absolutely fair. It's just that sometimes some companies or some marketers, they don't start with inside out, because it's hard work. It's hard work to get internal alignment. They might just skip that part and they go outside first. But the brands, the advocates of the brand starts with employees, right? If employees are really proud of the brand itself, it shows. And I've had experience when I've seen the inside and outside are not aligned, and then when crisis hit, things just got haywire. But if it's a founder-led brand, let's say if today this business is founded by a founder, often than not, the brand is exemplification of the founder vision and the founder values, right? And most of the iconic brands are actually started from the giants. They're founder-led, many of them, and then it just get bigger and bigger and corporatized itself. So it's important to capture that soul, that spirit, that starts with the founder or the giants.
Yeah, I love that, because I think it's so true. And for many years, it used to fascinate me when we were running big interview campaigns. I worked for some of the big banks, and they never thought to spend any time at the start selling the vision of what it's like to be here. What is it? Why should you be excited and hopeful about this interview? Because they're like, oh no, well they already want the job, and I'm like, yeah, but you want to really make them want the job. You wanted to get it, so there's such a point that they're like really disappointed if they don't get it. But equally, you want to be able to get people to understand in that interview process that if they're not in full alignment, if they're not going, oh, that's really interesting, I'm there, that's not the right brand for them. They're not going to have the right experience. They're not going to be bought in. And for me, that was really important, because I'd rather weed them out at interview. I'd rather interview, are you fully aligned with the vision, the values, what it's going to be like to be here? Or are you just looking at the package and the job and the probably more tangible elements of where we're going? But when we take the time to do that hard work, and as you say, the inside out is much harder.
Yes.
Much harder to get people to
Yes.
to buy in and get alignment and feel part of that, feel that they have been instrumental in some way in the creation of it and in its ongoing evolvement. So what are some of the ways that you can start that? You know, if you recognize, if somebody listening and watching today and you recognize that maybe you've gone outside and you've not yet done inside, like, what are some of the things they could do to start that journey?
Yeah, so similar to building the brands, I talk about inside out. You know, my book also talk about my own leadership philosophy on how to not only build great brands with soul, but also build great teams itself. And you know, I actually practice the philosophy of starting with self. You have to start from yourself as a leader. Who you stand for, what you stand for, what's your purpose, what's your strengths, what's your vulnerability. And then when you have that clear, then you could literally build teams, you know, build teams that are trusted and meaningful and high performing, and then you can start impacting the business. You know, in my book, I actually use a ripple effect, like, you know, concentric circles to demonstrate that. And in the roles that I've been in, and after just multiple times of practicing, whenever I go into a new role, my first 100 days or new teams, I would spend quite a lot of time aligning and sharing my purpose first, letting the team know who I am, what I stand for, and then I will go through a very, you know, architect process whereby I align the team's individual purpose, knowing them, and then coming together with the company purpose, the brand or the brand purpose, and then come together and create the team purpose or the team manifesto itself. Often than not, I find that when this part is done well, then the rest of the other aspects of it, the change becomes easier. If you skip this part, things might not go the right way. So for me, it's actually a tried and tested method that has worked as part of my own way of, you know, building teams and leading teams.
I love that. It's such a great way, isn't it? Because if you take the time to build that foundation, to create the commonality of purpose and the you know, and the people's buy-in, therefore, to where you're going and the part that they play in it, because often that's the bit we miss, isn't it? You know, I see so many things in so many organizations where, you know, we think about how much time people spend budgeting, you know, and they come up and they would know exactly what they want to get, and, you know, the good ones have gone and they've also checked what's going to happen for the market and the customers, and then very often they kick it over the fence, the people plan, what's needed for the people to be successful, over the fence to HR, and you're like, well, hold on. If we don't factor that in at the first part, if we don't factor in at the start, what do our people need for us to be able to be successful, then we're holding ourselves back. So I love that actually that's how you take that first 100-day approach. It's like, let's understand the people, let's understand what they've got, what they need, and how do they understand how to step into the part we need them to play in the transformation. Because if you miss that bit, you're going to have to push them all up the hill. So if you want that transformation to happen, you instead of them coming with you, you're just forcing, aren't you?
Yeah. I mean, I've done that many times, and I realized that if you skip that part, it doesn't work.
Yeah. And I think sometimes, I'd love your thoughts on this. I think sometimes it's because often those skills around the people skills, the emotional intelligence, they've been badged under the soft skills banner, which always makes me smile, because I think if they are soft skills, why do so many people find them so hard? But often those bits get dismissed as not being as valuable, and yet in my experience, I'd love to hear yours, they're actually always the most important element. You get that bit wrong and the rest of it isn't going to be easy, and it isn't going to be sustainable.
Yeah, I think the soft skills are harder to acquire. That's why they're called soft skills, maybe. But I mean, no pun to it. But yeah, the soft skills are the more critical ones. I mean, we talk about vulnerability. I didn't grow up feeling confident to share vulnerability. I didn't grow up. In fact, I was in an environment that, and from the Asian culture, showing you don't know it's actually against the Asian culture, right? It's a lack of faith, right? But I then start learning that actually, you are actually more confident if you are willing to share your vulnerability. And I've tested that. In my first role with HP, I shared my vulnerability in my first 100 days. And I said to the team, I don't know what I'm doing. I had nightmares around it. But I do know this is the end game I want to get to, and I really care for you guys. So when I did that, you can see the entire team, my direct reports, they broke down barriers. Immediately, the physical shift and the conversation was shifted from a different level. Everybody just felt comfortable sharing their fears. Everybody felt that it was authentic conversation. And then thereafter, people are motivated to just be the best version of themselves.
I love that. I think when you are brave enough to share vulnerability as a leader, you open the safe space for people to share theirs, because we all have them. And nobody has ever made it through life without having a vulnerability. Whether they're willing to admit it and share it is different. But we've all got one. We've all got those thoughts where, is this enough? Do I really know all of the answers? You might know where I want to go. I might know the vision, but do I know all the steps that are going to get me from here to there? No. But if I can share that, then we open the space for other people to tell us where they may see a foothold or a step that we can't see. So I love that you had the bravery to be vulnerable, particularly when it goes against our culture. I cut my teeth for 25 years in financial services. You don't show vulnerability. But when you step out of that and do show vulnerability, the impact, as you say, is just so impactful. Siew Ting, I can't believe how fast this interview has gone. I mean, we're like nearly out of time. But before we go, you shared so much already. Could you share with the audience how they can get in touch with you and who you help?
They can get in touch with me on LinkedIn, or you can also check me out on my website, www.soulforprofit.org. I help marketers for the future, and also as practice CMO, I help organizations who are interested in transforming their business and the brands we sold.
Amazing. And for anybody who didn't scribble all that down fast enough, please don't worry, it will be in the show notes below. So please just take a look there. And I encourage you to connect with Siew Ting and just see where the conversation takes you, because I think when we come at things from heart, when we come at things from soul, we make such a big impact, both for ourselves and for the people that are around us. Siew Ting, it's been an absolute delight. I can't thank you enough for coming on and sharing your insight and sharing your actionable insight to be able to make that shift. If you're in that place where you've gone outside in, to be able to take that step, hold your hands up and say, there's a different way. There's another way of doing it. So thank you so much for coming and being my guest. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Kim.
And for everybody listening and watching, I hope you found today's episode to be as insightful, inspiring, and soul-filled as I have. Until next time, take care.